So I started getting harassed around the time of the royal wedding. The moment that people knew I disagreed with some things about my sisters.
I grew up as an only child, and I wished I had siblings.
It's like everything. It's lie upon lie upon lie.
Hello to all my gorgeous, good-looking friends. You are tuning into TRG's series covering the Markle vs.Markle defamation lawsuit. If you are new to the channel, welcome. For those who are returning, thank you for coming back and supporting my work. I'm always grateful to have this like-minded community to discuss the beloved royal family and the cultural impact of its members on society, particularly in America. Okay, before I get into this, let me just put the disclaimer, I am not a legal expert. I am simply just reading what's in the public court files and giving my interpretation and observations/opinions. Please do your own research and come to your own conclusion. Hello, gorgeous, good-looking friends. I told you I would be back. And here we have an update in the Markle vs.Markle court case. So last week, right before Memorial Day, Meghan Markle's team had filed a motion to add additional information to the motion to dismiss. So to keep everybody on the same page, what I will do is take some of the bullet points that I had put in this video seen here into this current video so it can all make sense. But if you're interested in watching the full video, I will link it down below. Definitely go check it out if you want to learn more. So today, Samantha's team collapsed back and responds to the additional information or word salad Meghan's team had posted back on 5/25. Let's go through and read this document together. It's not very long, so I will read it out for everybody. So it begins, plaintiff sur-reply on motion to dismiss. The plaintiff, Samantha Markle, submits this for her sur-reply. Comments stated in Oprah are actionable. Now, if you don't remember or not sure what they're talking about here, let me quickly remind everyone that those four statements were: one, Meghan said that she didn't know Samantha, that she was an only child, she hadn't seen her in 18 years, and that she changed her surname back to Markle when she started to date Prince Harry. So Samantha responds back to Meghan's attempt to separate all four of those statements to invalidate Samantha's claim that Meghan's statement of her changing her name back to Markle was not defamatory and thus has no claim. So here's what Samantha claps back with. Meghan knew that Samantha used the name Markle as well as Rasmussen, the surname of her former husband and children, depending on the circumstance, all along. By fabricating that Samantha changed her name only when I started dating Harry, she implied that Samantha, who she falsely said she did not know, had gone so far as to change her name for the purpose of unconscionably capitalizing on her supposedly non-relationship with Meghan. I need to quickly interject here for a second. I am so glad to see that they also caught this word only. Then at the bottom, they added a footnote. For some reason, the defendant misquoted by omitting the important word only. Only implied that it was only due to her dating Prince Harry. Samantha's team, they were quite kind in giving Meghan's lawyers the benefit of the doubt by omitting the word only, the most important word of the whole entire sentence. In my opinion, I think that they did it on purpose and had put all this other distraction around it in hopes that Samantha wouldn't catch it. But I'm so glad that she did, because the word only is an adverb that is used to indicate exclusivity or limitation. And in this case, the word only is used to indicate a trigger that caused the name change. She referred to Samantha changing her name back to Markle at a particular point in time, but the change occurred specifically when Meghan started to date Harry. The implication, understood by any fifth grader, is that the name change was not a coincidence, but was motivated and influenced by Meghan's relationship with Prince Harry. So good on them for catching that. Continuing on. In her reply, Meghan maintained that Samantha did change her name when Meghan started dating Prince Harry. and from that concluded that there was no defamation. This is nonsense. Samantha did not change her name at that time, and there was nothing to suggest otherwise. Moreover, this court should accept the averments in the complaint as true. The claim that Samantha changed her name when Meghan started to date Harry is verifiably false. Also, the fact that Samantha on certain occasions used Rasmussen is meaningless. And I agree, because she also used the last name Grant as well. So, what was the point of that? Oh, right, just more deflection and distraction, because this is what their game is. The point is, she used Markle all along after her divorce and identified with each name. The statement that she changed her name only when Meghan was dating Harry was made of whole cloth. Also, her name was legally changed with her divorce in 2005, again in 2020, and her driver's license and social security number in 2021. Very nice job adding those receipts. Continuing. The impact and the malice are evident on viewing Meghan's motive for defaming Samantha. Meghan had achieved a dream. She was in a relationship with a prince and had great concerns of any negative press, especially any possible things her family might say. At the time of the Oprah interview, there was concern about a book which Samantha had written. Although it hardly pertained to Meghan, it was believed that it was a tell-all book about her. And that's about right, because when Meghan filmed this, I believe it was like February timeframe, and no doubt that Meghan had been planning this with Oprah and these questions were prepped. Meghan already had her paid Sussex Squad members start trashing the book before it was about to come out, right as it came out in towards the end of January. So this added to making sure that Samantha's book was never going to be successful. Meghan made a preemptive attack intending to cause the public to distrust Samantha. After all, who would buy a book by someone who is claiming to know Meghan if she is an imposter, cannot be trusted, and did not even know Meghan? Getting the false message out there, including that they met only once in the last 29 years, taking 35-year-old Meghan back to the age of 6, that's an interesting perspective. I'm glad that they framed this in that way for us to see how ridiculous this lie is. Meghan published the story that Samantha did not know Meghan, and worse, on the implication that she was a deceptive opportunist who would go so far as to change her name only when Meghan started to date Prince Harry, to, in effect, con the public into buying her book. Now, if you go back to the video that I did, I put this example in it to show exactly what the effect was of the way Meghan had positioned her messaging, not only with Oprah, but then leading up to it with all the advertisements as well as the propaganda that had been pushed out by these mainstream media outlets. This is a big platform. Entertainment Canada is an ally of Meghan, and they fully supported the message that Meghan wanted the public to believe. Now, do I think that this dialogue was scripted? No. I honestly think that these two ladies, after all the communication that they have received to report on, they believed Meghan's false narratives and her lies. When you have a PR machine that's suppressing other voices as well as trying to get other voices canceled and silenced, it's no wonder that there was this perception of Meghan being treated so terribly by the royal family. The American public has been fed a bunch of bullshit by people like Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King, pushing Meghan's lies and narrative and not doing proper journalism to correct that, but encouraging it, which I think is sick and twisted. And Samantha's accurate here when she says the defamation worked. Meghan succeeded in getting the press and hence the public to believe that Samantha should be distrusted. So they put here the Oprah transcript, and it says here, the news commenter, Oprah, immediately said, that name change does say a lot. The comments by Meghan were intended to cause Samantha to be distrusted, and they did have that effect. Meghan was right when she said, "and so." I think that says enough. It was enough to cause the book to fail, to have her fan base harass with some stalking and death threats, and to ruin Samantha's career as a counselor. Meghan's argument that 18 years is like 13 years is the wrong point. It should be that 29 years with one visit. 29 years ago is a completely different gist than 13 years. If there was only one visit since Meghan was 6, there was no relationship at all, especially when Meghan also stated that she did not remember Samantha visiting when she was young. The story was entirely false. And the way that Samantha's lawyers framed this makes perfect sense and, yeah, shows Meghan's statements and the gist or the substantial truth doctrine that they're trying to ride on falls flat. Samantha completely decimates their excuse or argument. Meghan did not reveal hidden truths. Meghan lived in Canada and she was busy in her career. The logistics were difficult to visit in person, especially considering Samantha was in a wheelchair. Yeah, that was a point that I raised as well. So they spoke on the phone and kept their relationship alive. The false statement of the extra 16 years admitting that they were in regular phone communications gave a false implication because the other facts of the relationship were omitted. And here I think beautifully said, because Samantha is saying that the mixed opinion doctrine applies in this instance. Mixed expression of opinion occurs when an opinion or comment is made which is based on facts regarding the plaintiff or conduct that have not been stated in the article or assumed to exist by the parties to the communication, aka the public. There was a purposeful avoidance of actual facts, including how Samantha was close to Meghan at a younger age and how they kept in touch through the years. This was consistent as the mission was to destroy Samantha's credibility before the book came out. So that part took care of the Oprah statements. Now Samantha's rebuttal goes into the Netflix statements, and she is stating that statements that were made in the Netflix mockumentary regarding her father's home, living there, and not seeing Samantha is flatly rebutted. Samantha stating that she helped Meghan by driving her to school and other places. And I'm sure when Doria felt it was too difficult to take care of Meghan, I'm sure Samantha stepped up and babysat this little brat from time to time. Samantha's lawyers write the issue of whether Meghan has no memory is the part which is more subjective and which can be proved by common sense and a jury's experience. These are more misrepresentations which, when taken as a whole, convey that Samantha is a false usurper. If this goes to discovery, which it does have a good chance, then she has her father to give testimony about that. Worst case scenario, if Meghan pulls out all the stops to all of a sudden try to reconcile with her father, then Samantha has Tom Jr. that will vouch for her. So I don't see how Meghan's going to get out of this. In regards to statement number 6 about Samantha claiming that she raised Meghan, Samantha never stated that. And highlighted here, although none of the articles that Meghan had provided, they never showed the original source to indicate that that quote came directly from Samantha. And this is a perfect example of how Meghan's team have been very distracting in trying to get people to look at all these different irrelevant details in an attempt to overwhelm and get people to lose track of the story. When it comes to Christopher Bouzy, I like that she kept it simple and stated that his words and statements were placed and published by Meghan to give the inference that Samantha was one who was attacking Meghan. And something that I thought was really good here is taking the statements from the video of what Christopher Bouzy said in his interview and piece them back together, because the way that Netflix had woven this story was for the viewer to walk away thinking that Samantha was indeed a racist, part of a hate group attacking her own sister. I think it was very smart for Samantha's lawyers to put up just Christopher Bouzy's statements that were made in the Netflix documentary in the order as they came, separating out all the other fluff to let you come to the decision as to what was the messaging that Christopher Bouzy was trying to convey. And if you listen to it, Bot Sentinel has looked at everything from QAnon to MAGA to COVID disinformation to climate change disinformation. We've never seen anything quite like this. We looked at 114,000 tweets, and we were able to determine that 70% of the hateful content came from just 83 accounts, and it had a reach of 17 million people. So this is not your everyday trolling. They were coordinated and talking about what they would discuss for that particular day or week, what pictures they should disseminate. They were actively recruiting people, telling people how to create multiple accounts, how to use VPNs, virtual private networks, to hide the IP so that they don't get suspended. And it was done by people who were just not the typical quote unquote trolls. These are housewives. These are middle-aged Caucasian women creating just constant attacks, from "Go back to America" to "Why don't you die?" For the main hate accounts, the primary motive is monetizing stuff. But for the secondary accounts, it's about hatred. It's about, race. Samantha Markle was part of the group that was putting out a lot of disinformation. Samantha had her account suspended, and then we actually sent Twitter a list because she had like 11 additional accounts, and we were baffled by this. How can the half-sister of Meghan be part of a hate group? I'm glad that Samantha's lawyers took the position in acting as if, what if the judge didn't see this documentary, which maybe she didn't. If you just read that text, in itself conveys the message that, yeah, they were tying Samantha to a racist hate group that was deliberately attacking Meghan. When you think about that, the gravity of these statements and the label being placed on Samantha as being this hateful white supremacist racist who is attacking her own sister, think about what that will do to a person who is in society and people believe that. I mean, seriously, who would want to hire Samantha for any job if the perception was she was this hateful racist? In addition to that, you have all these crazy lunatics out there who feel that their feelings and their voice matters, and the hate that they project onto others and the harmful threats that these brazen psycho squad sugars make has zero consequence in these day and times. Her physical safety is constantly threatened, constantly jeopardized because of this label that her sister has been actively pushing out there in various different avenues to paint this picture of Samantha that is not true. Meghan can't say that she is a fighter of disinformation online when she is a main source of peddling it, with the sole purpose of causing disruption, division, and intentional harm. And you're doing it to your own family. How much more hateful can you get with that? Now, I'm glad that they made note that Twitter found that there was no such hate campaign, but I would have liked for them to add a footnote there of where that could be found so the judge could read further, because that's an important piece to this. You realize that Twitter discredited this report, but it was still being peddled. So they make the point here about the case that they reference and talking in relation to Meghan and Bouzy by categorizing people into a group of people who spread disinformation. If spewing disinformation makes you a member of a group by including Samantha in the group, Meghan and Bouzy were specifically saying that Samantha spread disinformation. And that's exactly it. And they finish off the document with this simple example. I'm going to let you read through it. One thing I liked about this document was that, like, it was simple and they dumbed it down to a point where is readable by anybody that can see it to understand, as opposed to the distraction that we have been seeing from Meghan's camp with all their fancy, arrogant language and tone. Here, this feels very approachable. And I think just keeping to the facts and keeping it simple is going to go further than this convoluted mess that Meghan continues to spin. I guess when you tell so many lies that it's expected that there's a lot of distraction and deflection and excuses to cover up the bad behavior in the first place. And that's kind of what we're seeing here. I thought that this was a good response back in shooting down some of these things that Meghan had added to this motion to dismiss. The only criticism that I have about the document itself was that I think maybe they could have proofread it just maybe one more time, as there were some grammatical errors throughout the document and misspellings. But, overall, I thought it was a good effort. And I do think that when you leave a document, the formatting, so in the last page, it was cut off with the last sentence. So the last sentence that Samantha left with was, Meghan had hands-on role in the series. She controlled the flow of information and how that information was disseminated. I think they could have moved that section over to the last page because they had so much real estate on the page to have that statement leave a lasting impact. When you look at it, if I was the judge and I was reading it, I might have skipped that last sentence at the top. Maybe if it prints and, comes out, that last sentence could have been chopped off. You don't know, but you want to make sure that whoever has it in their hands can get the full effect of what you're trying to communicate. And that, I think, maybe was an oversight because this document was due today and they had to file it. So perhaps maybe they needed to get it in on time and didn't look at the minor, very minor things that could have been better. So where we stand now, I believe the judge needs to make a decision on if Meghan's motion to dismiss this case will be approved or this moves forward into a full-on trial. Obviously, I think it should move forward, but then again, I'm extremely biased because I have been witnessing everything that has been happening for the last 6 years. And many of you who have watched my channel also have been a part of this journey for the last several years to know and see what has been going on. Obviously, things definitely have shifted and changed a little bit because more people have been waking up. But if you're coming into this story for the first time and seeing this on the surface, you might have a hard time wrapping your head around how serious this is and the people that are involved with carrying out these false narratives and attacks against innocent people for expressing their own opinion. I certainly don't want people like Meghan get people to bully and threaten others online for the sake of protecting Meghan's brand or false brand, as seen as a role model for young girls and young women to look up to. People need to know what she did to her own family, especially her disabled sister. And that's why this needs to move forward. So I wish Samantha all the luck in the world. We can only do so much here to support her, but at the same time, let's hope justice is really still doing its job. Anyhow, what do you guys think? Definitely leave your thoughts below, and you know it. As always, I will be back with more content, but until then, please be safe, and I will talk to you later. Bye!
Such a fraud.